All right, let us move on. Spin the wheel. I did mention this team taking the field in College Park, Maryland on homecoming. Actually, this is Maryland's homecoming opponent. You ready?
Nice.
The USC Trojans.
Ooh.
So this is one giant unanswered question. I think there's two questions. One of them I've seen enough from Lincoln Riley to feel confident in.
Yes.
Another one is a giant unanswered question.
Completely
I have
agree.
a huge spread for them depending on the answer of this question, because if USC is competent on defense, they can go to the playoff.
Yeah.
If USC stinks again on defense, they might not even make a bowl game.
That's where I'm at too. And Andy, can I paint you a picture? It's beautiful, right? I love the skill players here, right? You know, Zachariah Branch, one of the most electric players I've seen with my own eyeballs.
Deuce Robinson
is a stud pass catcher. Jonah Monheim's probably one of the best interior linemen in the country. Woody Marks, the back they got from Mississippi State, great 3-down back.
Joe Quavius. He wore Toy Story pajamas, and that's why they call him Woody.
Correct. Beautiful. And they bring in some high-quality defensive players, too. They got Kamari Ramsey out of the portal, Akili Arnold, John Humphrey, Nate Clifton. New DC can't be any worse than last season. And you get Miller Moss coming in to be your starting quarterback after throwing 6 tutties in the bowl game. What could go wrong, Andy? Well, the Big Ten says, hey, welcome to the Big Ten. We're going to give you a tough one schedule-wise.
Yeah.
That schedule is not fun. And you get LSU and Notre Dame on top of it in non-conference. Not fun.
It's crazy because they avoid Oregon and Ohio State, but they don't get really any of the bottom of the league. They get a lot of the middle of the league.
Yes. I completely agree. And, you know, you have to travel to Washington and you travel to Minnesota. I think I agree with you. The floor for this team might be 5-7. That's the absolute bottom falling out. That's if the defense isn't fixed. Miller Moss isn't the guy they think he is. I could see them finding themselves on the wrong side of a lot of 50-50 games, Andy.
Yeah, and it's really a question of the defense because they got very long at corner. Like you look at who they brought in, John Humphrey, who came with D'Anton Lynn from UCLA, is 6'2". Right. DeCarlos Nicholson, who they got from Mississippi State, is 6'3". Jacoby Covington, who came from Washington a couple years ago, he's been there. He's 6'2". Like they know what they're looking for. Right? Like D'Anton Lynn definitely came in with an idea of what he wants it to look like.
Yes,
which I think is promising. I think that's because Alex French knew what he wanted it to look like too, and what he wanted it to look like was way too small to be successful.
Yes,
like way too small up front, and so I think they're going to be more right-sized on defense. But again, I need to see it. I've never seen a good defense opposite Lincoln Riley's offense.
Right.
That says to me it is more of a whole program holistic issue than a defensive coordinator issue. So I need to see it happen on the field. But if it does, we are talking about a playoff team here.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If they do, I think their best case scenario could be somewhere in the 10-2 range. I think they could go 4-2 in their first 6. They have a great shot at maybe going 6-0 down the stretch, maybe losing 1, most likely being Notre Dame at the end. But this is a team that realistically, if they have a pulse on defense, they could go 9-3, no problem.
And I will say at Michigan, you obviously don't want to go to Michigan anytime, but getting Michigan the week after they played Texas is
yes,
not terrible, right?
I agree. I think that lines up in their favor. I agree.
So that's the only part of now. I take that back. That they get Michigan the week after they play Arkansas State. USC has an open date before they play Michigan.
Gotcha.
But at any rate, that will be a great test because Michigan's offensive line, again, even though they're replacing almost everybody, it's still going to be very good. It's going to be the same ethos as last year. They're going to try to smash you up front. If you can hold up in that game, that bodes well for the rest of the season. If they just run right through you, then I got a feeling it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah, it'll be a world of hurt. I mean, that's the thing is realistically that team could end up 6-6, and I wouldn't be shocked.
That's the thing. Like, what do we think of Lincoln Riley after that? Because I feel like me saying if all goes well, they can make the playoff. I feel like that's the most optimistic I've heard anybody be about them all year. And now, obviously, I'm tempering that by saying if the defense is still terrible, they might miss a bowl game. So, like,
right?
How far has Lincoln Riley's star fallen since he got that job? Where we're just like, oh, you're going to the Big Ten. The Big Ten's going to eat you up. Like,
yeah,
2 years ago, we were like, oh no, they're going to come roaring into the Big Ten.
Right. And this is a guy too that's had such strong, high-powered offense. That's, to be honest with you, Andy, that's how bad the defense has been. A guy that has been so clinical on offense and putting up such gaudy numbers for so long. The defense was so bad that you have the head coach basically being like, well, we go to the Big Ten and, fingers crossed we make sure we secure a bowl game. Like, is that where we're at now with USC? It's unbelievable that that's the conversation we have to have because one side of the ball has struggled so much. So
yeah, and the thing is, we have to see it get better.
Yes,
because if it doesn't get better under D'Anton Lynn, I'm not going to blame him for that.
Exactly. Yep. Who do you point the finger at? That's exactly right.
So, and it's I wrote this after they lost to Utah in the Pac-12 championship game a couple of years ago. I was like, until the culture of the program changes to allow them to be a more physical team, that also includes up front on the offensive line, where they have the physical archetypes you want,
right?
But they don't always play like it. Now, Jonah Monheim's a very high NFL draft pick.
Different,
he's gonna be real good, but they don't have a whole line full of those. Not right now.
No.
So that's the part that scares you as they enter the Big Ten. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.